Hey everyone, it's TV Shores. It's April the 10th, 2016. It's 2:16 p.m. I just wanted to bring up a few things. I'm not sure why I have such a glare going on here. There. I think that fixed it. I wanted to back up and look just a moment at some of the things we'd been discussing. Um, I think where I want to start is up here in Matthew 25:5, where we see it says they all slept and slumbered and slept. And of course, then we had the midnight cry. And then we see that then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps, which is making ready. Okay. Trimming of lamps is about preparation. It's actually the last preparation before the light is lit in the lamp. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that takes us. This is about being ready. That's what I wanted to point out. It's about that, like I said, that last preparation before the light can be lit on the lamp. So then we come down here where we've been studying at in Matthew 10, and we see that they that were ready. Now, see up here in verse 7, they arose and trimmed their lamps. They were making ready. Okay, they that were ready went in with him to the marriage. Okay, we know that the reason the wise were able to go in with him to the marriage is because they had the oil, which is all about, as we have continued to study. To make a long story short, it's about seeking the Lord. It's about seeking him in his word and being diligent to try and understand the things of the Lord and the things that he has promised and the plans and the purposes he has set for us. So it's all about us building that relationship. So when we get down here to, let me see where I want to go here, where we're talking about the ready, those that were ready went in with him into the marriage. We can clearly understand it is because they have made those preparations. They have sought that relationship. They have, and we learned in Ephesians 5 about how Christ wanted to sanctify and cleanse the church with the washing of water by the word. So we learned that the word is what cleanses us within, because it brings his truth. It brings his truth to us, and it cleans out the impurities within us because we are taking in his truth. Okay, and I could go into some big detail about that, but I think the majority of you understand what's being said there. So here we see that they are ready and they went into the marriage. Okay, now keep in mind, they all slumbered and slept and they all arose, and it was about a preparation, a last minute preparation. And we need to also remember that this is about God's judgment coming to the church, because these, and I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again, the wise and the foolish both knew who the bridegroom was. They both were looking for him, expecting him, okay? But only the wise got to go in because they had sought that relationship by digging into the deeper things and growing that relationship. And as we learned, let's pop over here to Ephesians. As we learned in Ephesians 5, let me see if I can find it right quick. Here in verse 26, that he might sanctify and cleanse the church with the washing of water by the word. Okay, so the more that we take in, the more that it cleanses us within and brings us to this state of purification that the bride needs, because that's what is in the very next verse. Verse 26 talks about the sanctifying and cleansing with the washing of water by the word. This is about the Lord's truth, purifying us because we learn his truth, that he might present it, meaning the church, to himself, a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So when we see what's taking place here, what the Lord is showing us in these scriptures about us taking in the word and cleansing ourselves within by the washing of water by the word, we can get a bigger picture of what's happening over in John 2. But before we jump back over there, the point that I'm wanting to make here is we're going back up to Ephesians 5:14, where it says, wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead. Remember, we talked about that being the spiritually dead. Now remember, when Christ rose, he had gone through a physical death, physically dying in the flesh, and was put in the tomb for 3 days and resurrected on the third day. We also learned that where the scripture spoke about in John 2, let's pop over there, where Jesus says, mine hour is not yet come, it was about him being glorified, or glorified, because we saw in, I think it was, John 17, let me look, John 17:1. Yes, it says, Father, the hour is come, glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee. So it was about, through the process of the death, burial, and resurrection, the glory it would bring to the Lord. Okay? And it's about the resurrection. And it probably would be great if I did a study on the resurrection itself and what all is meant through that. But there again, that's another study for another time if the Lord leads there. But this is all about the resurrection. Okay? And here we see in John 2, the third day, which is resurrection day, there was a marriage. So the third day is about the becoming, the resurrection. What the Lord is showing us here is the third day, which is resurrection day. There was a marriage, meaning two became as one. And that's what's going to take place when the wise go into the marriage. Okay? So if we look back here at Ephesians 5:14, and we see that clearly this is connected with the wise and the foolish, because of what we see going on here about the waking from sleep and arising. And then in the next verse 15, where it says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. So here we see the foolish and the wise, because this is about Christ's relationship with the church. And what I wanted to show you here, and I should have pointed it out before now, but sometimes I just take for granted people understand, and I forget that I need to be more specific sometimes. But here let's pop over here. In Matthew 25, when it's talking about them waking up and making those last minute preparations to be ready, it's about being ready for this this new awakening that's about to take place for them, because it says, awake thou that sleepest and arise from the dead. This is the resurrection of the living. Okay, and Christ shall give thee light. Because this is about waking up. This is the church, okay? This is not people in the grave. Arise from the dead. This is the church. Wake up from the spiritual dead. Those of you who have eyes to see and ears to hear. You are about to be taken to that next level in your spiritual growth. Because as we see over here in John 2, let's get down there. We see that they were filled to the brim. Remember, that was about the purification and the water. Remember the water, the washing of water by the word. So they were to their fullest. Okay, they were to their fullest, and it was time for the transformation. And see, I know some may have a hard time understanding how all this fits together. But those of you who have ears to hear, I know you understand what I'm saying here. But this right here is speaking directly. Ephesians 5, speaking directly to the church about the resurrection of those who are ready. Because it says, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. Well, Christ giving us light is that coming to be one with him, where we see this transformation being performed from the water to the blood, because the blood is all about Christ. It is the blood of Christ, and we become like him. So this here we can clearly see is about the resurrection of the true church. And Christ shall give thee light, because Christ is the light of the world. And when we join him in that marriage, becoming one, then we take on his light. We take on his truth. We become something new. That is why it is stated over here. If I can get that to pull back up. Oh, okay, we're already there. It is stated over here about, let me find it, where it says, every man at the beginning does set forth good wine, but thou hast kept the good wine until now. It's meaning that the new thing that the Lord is doing, it is what has been kept for the end. Not at the beginning, but at the end. And it is about beginning of miracles that will manifest forth his glory. When we look at John 17, it says, the hour is come. Father, the hour is come. Glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee. And this is about how Christ came to glorify God, and how we will glorify Christ. I'm hoping this is making sense to you. Like I said, there's so many things that just seem to just fall into place. But when I go to try to explain it, I'm not sure if I am explaining it in a manner to which it's easily understood. But I hope you can see what's being said here about the resurrection. And that is what is taking place over here with the wise and the foolish, because we can clearly see in Ephesians 5, 14, and 15, this is talking about the wise and the foolish. We take that back and apply it over here. It is about the resurrection and about becoming one with the Lord. That's what this marriage is about. I'm going to cut this off here, and then I think we're going to get into probably the shutting of the door. Love y'all. Bye-bye.